right, welcome back everyone for another episode of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the video and article that I do for comicbookinvest.com where I talk about those books you can still probably find tucked away in those cheap boxes, those discount boxes, those dollar bins, whatever sort of cheap comic book hunting you go for, whether it be half-price books, your LCS, yard sales, flea markets, etc. These are some books you should keep an eye out for that I think you can find that's related to some news, rumors, and things going on in the actual comic books. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And yeah, this one might be a little bit of a shorter one as I try to get myself ready for WrestleMania tonight. So I'm going to run down the books in a second. So just hang on after the intro and I will be right back. All right, so we're just going to dive right into it with the actual comic books. So if you read any books this week, maybe I will be talking about some of the ones that you have on your pull list, like Zatanna number 3. Pretty decent series so far. It's only a mini series, which I think is good because I don't know how long Zatanna as a character can hold in the sort of a solo series setting, but inside this book, we do see a pretty good side character that we have seen before related to her with the, the Shadow Pact that they had worked together before and whatnot. And I'm talking about Blue Devil. And he is an interesting little side character that's been around the DC universe for a while now. So let's look at Blue Devil's first appearance, which I know we've talked about here on the show before, but it doesn't hurt to hit it back up once in a while just to kind of remind folks, and for newer viewers who may not have been watching this. This is episode 301 after all. So there are a lot of episodes of this series and this show and this article. So I don't expect you to have been watching or reading all of them. So maybe you missed this one. That said, I'm talking about his first appearance here in The Fury of Firestorm number 24. This is back in February 1984. Basically, yes, there's a little snapshot here on the cover where you can see that, yeah, they're talking about Blue Devil, but inside the guts of this book, there is a 16-page preview, I think. Or I don't know if it's 16 pages, but there is a preview. There is a preview in the back of this book. As you can see there, starting. It's basically like a comic with inside of a comic book. So you get a preview of that Blue Devil number 1. That series would be starting up soon after this. So you get a little bit of a tease here in Firestorm. This book is one you can find out there. Yes, it can sometimes get a little pricey, but that's also part of the fun of dollar bin digging. I know that's why a lot of people do it. They're looking for pricier books buried in those cheap boxes. And this is one that can get overlooked and forgotten about. And you can sometimes even sneak it a little cheaper online, as you can see here, as yes, somebody won one at auction for only $4.25 in very fine condition. So it wasn't like that was a beat up reader. But at the same time, a near mint copy did sell as a buy it now for $30. So auctions, you can sometimes get lucky with these things. Copies listed, you can see there's copies listed for $8, another one for about $8, and another one looking for about $20. All basically, one's mid-grade, one's listed as near mint for $8, and then there's one being graded at an 8.0 by the seller for $20. So condition sensitive, what you're going to get, you don't know. You're going to pay a little bit more for a better grade, but again, I'm not telling you to go buying online. I'm telling you to go dig in those boxes at wherever your favorite place is to dig. Hopefully you got somewhere near you. I know a lot of folks out there don't have a place that they can dig. They're not near comic shops, but there are some alternatives. I mean, like I said, you can maybe see if you can find a flea market near you. Sometimes you can find things like that there. You check out those websites for garage sales. They'll list comic books for sale, like things like that, possibly in their yard sale listings, etc. And maybe even Goodwills and places like that. Used bookstores, antique stores. There's a lot of places you might be able to find books. I don't know. It's different everywhere. But there are also places online where you can sometimes find things for cheap. It's not all eBay related, even though that's where I show most of the data, because that's the biggest selling marketplace, I think, for comic books for many of us. So it's an easy place that we can all go and look and see what's there, what's out there, and what's sold, and have information free and available to you as far as sales go. With that said, let's move on to the next book that I have for you, which is this Superman book, the Summer of Superman special. Now, a lot of covers for this book. This one in particular, nobody cares about. But one of them They do. And I felt like just talking about it since this was number one on the Hot 10 list this week. It was this book and it was this particular cover for it. And so it was just about the cover, not about the guts of the book, because it was about what was inside the book more than just this cover would be hot. So we'll just say it's just for this Lozano Supergirl cover, which again, I kind of like. It's a Disney princess kind of vibe to it. It's cute. And inside the guts of this book, if you decided to open it and read it, there are 3 stories written by 3 different writers taking place over 3 different time periods in Superman's life that all tie into him fighting this character of Validus right here. One of the Fatal 5. That fight kind of goes on, and you get a big surprise kind of at the end of this book, something we've been kind of waiting for a little bit, since that All-In special, which seems like it was 6 months ago. So maybe we're going to pick up that storyline sometime soon. But inside the guts of this book, we're looking at Validus. And like I said, he is a big, kind of big monsterish type of character, part of the original Fatal 5 that you can find in an old book. And yes, this is an old classic book. This is Adventure Comics number, what is this? 353. I can't really read it. It's kind of small on my screen. November 1966. So yes, this is a 12 center. This is an older book. And inside this, it's not just Validus, but you do get the Fatal 5. And they're right there on the cover, but also in the guts of this book here, too. We get to see them. Now, just because this is a classic book, it can sell for a decent amount if you do find one, but it can also sell for pretty cheap, depending on condition. You might find one with a torn cover, rips, might be a little beat, well-loved, etc. But it's Adventure Comics 352. Sorry, there it is. I can read it now. 352. Copies have sold for $14, $12, and those are like, kind of lower grade, very, very goods, etc. One even sold for only $1.29. Granted, that one I think is missing part of the cover. I think part of the cover is torn off, but it's still $1.29. Ain't too bad. So technically, it's $1. Copies listed $2 at auction. Again, auctions are always fun. You take a chance. You never know what you might win. There's an auction one listed starting at $2.29. Meanwhile, there are other lower grade copies out there with one up for $10 and another one for like $15 that's listed as very good as well. So you may not get a near mint, but seriously, you're really expecting to find a 1962 book in a 9.8. You're fooling yourself. The chances of finding that these days are slim to none. So you're going to find something more on that lower grade scale, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is still a market for it in any grade. There will be buyers if you decide to sell. There will be buyers and collectors just like you looking for a book like this. Now, with that said, that's another one you can keep an eye on this week based off of some DC stuff. But I got one more DC book for you before we move on, and that is the Sonic the Hedgehog and DC special. So it's DC crossing over with Sonic, and with that, we could talk about some of these Sonic characters as they kind of tie in here. Basically, we had a Sonic character tying in with every DC Justice League sort of member. Like Knuckles is with Superman, Shadow is with Batman, Sonic is with Flash, etc. But some of the other pairings feature some more lesser-known Sonic characters and some ones you might want to get a look at now before we get to even the next Sonic movie, because these things do pop. And not only do they pop, some of these are already expensive. So, with that, let's look at this guy right here. This is Silver, who's teamed up with John Stewart, the Green Lantern. So, Silver's first appearance isn't all that long ago. And granted, it's still part of the Archie run, but it was deep, deep in that Archie run. He's a hedgehog from the future that kind of came back. I mean, it's crazy Sonic stories, but I mean, it's comic books after all. All of the stories are crazy. But what was this? 2008. So in November 2008, in issue 194, yes, that is Amy Rose there on the cover, but we're not here for Amy Rose. We're here for Silver, who should be in the guts of this book, but I forgot to put the image of it in here, so we'll look at the Swamp Thing from last week. With that said, Silver is in this book. Trust me about that, and this thing can sell for a decent amount, as you can see. Yes, copies sold for $10, about 30, 35. Meanwhile, listed 50, 70, as high as $130. Yeah, this could be a pricey book. Some of these Sonic books are tough to find, and they could fetch a nice little return. I know the days of finding cheap Sonic the Hedgehog comics are kind of behind us, I guess, but they're still out there. They're still out there. And if you get lucky enough to find one of these, character first, you might have scored yourself a nice little gem there. So keep an eye out for that issue 194. Put that in memory. file this cover in memory, and maybe you get lucky and come across this one. Now, sorry I didn't get the image of, Silver for the first time inside that book, but let's move it on and take a look at the other character that I mentioned there, Amy Rose, who is teamed up with Wonder Woman in this DC book. So, Amy Rose, we can talk about two books here because her actual first appearance is this book, and this is from 1994, March of 1994, but it is a UK comic. So, Sonic the Comic over in the UK, that thin paper, wide, almost magazine size, like the Action Force, G.I. Joe's, Transformers. Yes, so finding one of these could be tough, and it is over in the UK, but it is first, so look for it. This one, I only found one recent sale, and it sold for over $80. And copies listed are looking for as cheap as $35, up to $100, up to $135. Could get pretty pricey there. And for this same reason. And she's right there on the cover, so I don't need to open it up and show you inside as well. But that would be her first appearance, even though it is over in the UK. Now, if you want to get more technical and you only want to worry about more stateside type editions, well, then we can look at this one, which came out the year after, in May of 1995, the 25th issue of Sonic the Hedgehog, also featuring Mecha Sonic. You can see right there on the cover. So keep an eye on that. But inside the guts of this book, we do get introduced to Amy Rose here for the first time in comics. I mean, she originally showed up in the game. So what was it, like Sonic 3 or something like that? I forget which Sonic game it was, but she was actually a video game character first, and then she got the UK appearance in the comic book, and then a US appearance eventually as well. So that's kind of her quick history. With that, this issue 25, you can find them kind of all over the place, and it can be pricey as well. Look, best offer on $35 was the cheapest sale the last 3 months because other sales were for $60 and $100. Yes, Sonic comic, $100. Copies listed, yeah. There's a $25 one, there's a $60 one, and then there's one that's looking for over $100. As I said, some of these Sonic comics are already expensive, so it's good to know which ones to look for, because even some of the regular old filler type of issues are still like $5 to $10 books. So if you're finding it cheap enough, just get any comic, any Sonic comic, really, as long as it's not all chewed up. You might have done yourself a favor. But if you want to know which ones to really look for, just memorize or try to remember these covers that I'm sharing with you. And hopefully, if you stumble across it, you don't miss out and you go, oh, 25. Well, it's an anniversary issue. Maybe it's important. Because again, she's not on the cover. So that won't be the reason that you know. You'll see the Mecha Sonic, which could be another reason for it to be a little bit valuable. But we don't got Mecha Sonic showing up anywhere yet. So we'll lean on Amy Rose for the time being. Now, before we move on, we're going to take a quick pause because I want to remind any of you out there who need supplies, use my code RENA10 and save yourself 10% off your entire BCW order. You're out there, you need your bags, your boards, short boxes, your long boxes, CGC boxes, top loaders, some pages for your cards, anything you need to keep your comic books and collectibles safe. There's probably a product over at BCW. So if you got to buy it, you might as well save some money while you do it. So use my code RENA10 and save yourself 10% off that whole order, because again, it's good to save money, right? With that said, let's move on and jump on over to Marvel real quick. Don't got a lot to talk about with Marvel for this week, but I do want to talk about Superior Avengers #1. This is an odd book featuring Doom's adopted son and a team of basically other alternate universe type characters. So in theory, they're not really, this is really their first appearance in a lot of places for a lot of these characters. But first, before we get to them, before I get too deep into this, let's look here at the son of Victor Von Doom on behalf of his father. Yes, we're talking about Christoph Bernard. This is him here forming the Superior Avengers team. His first appearance was in Fantastic Four, issue 247, back in 1982. Pretty cool Doom cover here as well. This land is mine. We get introduced to him as a kid in this issue. I think he's the kid of the other ruler of Latveria, or, Doom, or whatever, Doom's country. And he kind of, after Doom takes over, he kind of adopts the other guy's son. So this is him, little kid, running into him, and his mom comes out pleading for him. Oh, please don't hurt him. He didn't mean anything by it, etc. But Doom takes him under his wing, basically, following this point. Now, this is him right there. Like I said, the little kid. Now, this book, It's very, very cheap. You could find this out there. Look, copies have sold for $8, $11, $15. I mean, it's not bad, but there are copies listed for as cheap as $4 for a fine copy, 10 to $20 if you want a little bit of a higher grade. And they all, some of them might list it for first Christoph von Doom, but that's him. So it is what it is. Who knows how important this character will be going forward, but I got to imagine with this entire One World Under Doom run that we're going to be getting for another few months, we may be seeing a little bit more of Kristoff. So could be a good book to go and look for and see if you can go find for cheap, because it might hang around for a little bit. I don't know. Just saying. Also, another character, again, he's got like a multiversal sort of team. Like there's a weird female version of Onslaught with like a skull face as part of this squad. There is a female Dr. Octopus, etc. So this is a team made up of otherworldly type of characters, including Malekith, the Dark Elf. You remember the bad guy from Thor 2, the movie? So Malekith, this version is from another universe, but we do have a 616 counterpart we can talk about. So let's just look at the first appearance overall for Malekith. Because like I said, yes, there's a female Dr. Octopus, but Dr. Octopus's first appearance is pretty expensive. So this female version, this would be her first appearance as far as I'm aware, because she's from another universe. This is her first. So can't really tell you to go buy the new release for this week for $1, because you're not going to find it probably for that. Same deal with a lot of the other characters, like the female Onslaught. This is the first time I'm seeing a character like that. I can tell you about the first appearance of the regular Onslaught, but you might already know it, and it's already kind of expensive. So let's not go into every member of the team, like Killmonger, etc. Like, it's an interesting squad, but we can talk about Malekith, because you can still probably find Malekith's first appearance for cheap, and you probably should look for it, because it's this issue of Mighty Thor 344. We're also dealing with Balder. It's a good Balder issue here, too. So, Mighty Thor 344, inside this issue, we are introduced to Malekith the Dark Elf. And like I said, this book had popped at one time, and yes, it was important, Thor the Dark World. The second movie did get panned by a lot of critics, etc., but I still think it was a decent flick. But here we go. This is Malekith right here. Now, this book, it's pretty cheap overall. I mean, copies have sold for $2.66 and then up to $6 for excellent copies. Like, it's not an expensive one. You can find, I mean, that's cover price for a lot of new releases these days. And copies listed, well, $6, $8, $17.50 on the high end, but it is still one you could probably go out there and dig for and dig it up. So just kind of wanted to bring it up there. Malekith. And like I said, it's not the same Malekith in this book that you would be buying this first appearance for, but it is what it is. Now, I want to hop over to Image real quick. Now, I can't often do this because a lot of the independent titles don't run that deep, so you don't find that many back issues that you can tie into first appearances. I mean, outside of a run like Spawn or something like Savage Dragon, we can't really do that much with. But here we are with the 26th issue of Rogue Sun. And you know what? Let's talk about the title character of Rogue Sun, who is right there on the front with Radiant Black. I'm not reading these. I've heard good things about both of these series. I've just not gotten into this universe. Maybe I still should. I keep meaning to. I just haven't yet. But inside this, Rogue Sun right there is a character who's been around a little while now, a couple of years. So let's look at that first appearance, because while many people might look for it to be Rogue Sun #1, it wasn't. It was actually the month before, I believe. It was at least a month. Supermassive #1 for 2022. It was like a one-shot for this little universe by Higgins, featuring these characters. And inside this book, you would get that first appearance of Rogue Sun right here. For the last time, I am Rogue Sun. Boom. So, first here in Supermassive for 2022. There's a Supermassive. It's like a one-shot for the year. There's one for 2022, 2023, and 2024. I do not believe we've had one for 2025 yet, but maybe they do one. I don't know. But you could probably go and dig this out somewhere for cover price or less. Yes, copy sold for $4.50, another for $8.50. There are other covers of this book, but I just kind of want to focus in on the A just to give you something to kind of dig for. If you find other covers, great. I don't think it matters all that much as far as prices go. I think they're all pretty much consistent. But here we go with some listed copies, also in that same kind of $5 to $9 kind of range. So it's not a huge key or anything like that, or something that's going to make you real rich if you find it. But hey, you never know. Go tuck it away in a box for a while. Maybe Rogue Sun becomes the next Invincible. I don't know. Probably not going to happen, but stranger things have happened. Maybe it'll be Radiant Black, and this will just be a tie-in issue. I don't know. with that said, let's get on over to rumors. So we're going to go with a rumor or an article I was reading over on comicbookmovie.com and talk about something there. So inside this, some plot leaks for the Fantastic Four movie. Yes, we got the new trailer that has been kind of divisive amongst many of the community. I kind of enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to this still. Yes, CGI could probably be polished up a little bit in some places, but there's some plot leaks. I'm not going to go that deep into them. I don't like to ruin things either. So I'm just going to mention the one thing, which is pure speculation on who an actor or actress who was cast in this movie may be playing. And that is Natasha Lyonne's character. She may be playing a character called Sharon Ventura, who, if you remember or not, was a girl who was dating the Thing. I think she had a lot of a weird history. I think she was like a part-time wrestler. I think she was a Ms. Marvel at some point. And she also became a female Thing at one point. So we'll see. I doubt that they're going to go that complete route in making her a female Thing, but they may introduce her as a love interest of a sort for Ben Grimm. Okay, I could see it. I mean, a different route, not go Alicia Masters. So maybe we'll see what happens. It's a possibility, right? Just in case. It's a cheap option and a cheap book to go and pick up. And this is The Thing number 27, May 1985, is her first appearance. And this is her here with this like stunt team of kind of like a Johnny Blaze, Evil Knievel type stunt crew. And yeah, they all wear the same fun outfits. Cool. But that's her. They're talking to the Thing before, they end up, dating at some point. Like I said, this book's not expensive. Copies listed $2.39. A copy sold $2.39, $2.99, $5 for Very Fine Plus. Copies listed $4.50, $5, $10 on the higher end. It's not a pricey book. It's one you could probably find out there. I mean, I know you've come across runs of Thing comics in those bins before because it's not a series that everybody loves. But, maybe give it a try. And it's another first appearance you can just go find for cheap and stash in a box. And who knows? See what happens. If that rumor comes true, this book could see a pop somewhere down the line if it gets confirmed in some way. Now, with that said, that's all I got for you today. Sorry, it feels like a little bit short, but like I said, I got to get ready for WrestleMania, which is starting in about 20 minutes. So I'm going to get through this, edit it, put it out there for tonight for you guys to view and enjoy. And don't worry, I'll be back next week with some more content for you. So hopefully you enjoy this. All right, later.